You're a little small speck of f***ing crud in this country, and we're about tired of it.
Video games. Video games are stinky. So says your grandma. Video games have a horrible reputation. If the writers are actually trying to deliver an engaging story with impeccable writing, it's immediately viewed as a pretentious nerdy orgasm. But if it makes any mistakes, no matter how small they are, then are they even trying? Somehow they fall under the idea of a piece of entertainment that only geeky, stinky, gross, nerdy, ugly, smelly people like you enjoy. No matter how true or false this reputation is, it's mainly to blame the lack of accessibility for people who don't play games. Nevertheless, games are still able to deliver spectacular stories in ways that other entertainment could never reach. Games of groundbreaking quality need to have values in the aspect of story, acting, gameplay, replayability, world building, atmosphere, and detail. My mind goes to a few games like God of War and The Last of Us.
Yeah, keep laughing, old man. See what happens.
These are fantastic games that work phenomenally in engaging the player in their work. And this can be traced back to the specific foundation of the video game medium, called agency and control. When you simply play a game, you get more than just tunnel vision. You find yourself relating to the person you play as, and immersing into the world better than any movie can because you, yourself, are making decisions and influencing the world through those decisions. Which brings me to the question, what is the greatest game of all time? Well, I've told you before to stop yelling at me, and the answer is obviously subjective, but quality isn't. So, for me, the answer is a game that I truly believe has one of the best stories of all time.
This place ain't no such thing as civilized. Listen to me. When the time comes, you gotta run and don't look back. This is over.
Now, with what I've said, I'm implying that a video game has storytelling in terms of engagement and realism on par with films like Blade Runner, Saving Private Ryan, and No Country for Old Men. And yes, that is what I am saying. But you must understand, I'm not tackling this with a biased point of view. I love movies, shows, and video games, and I love dissecting them like the bodies I find in the East River.
I saw a couple of other guys out there.
Swimming?
Well, floating. They weren't moving much, but they were out there.
And that's why I made this channel in the first place.
Please subscribe.
And I am yet to find a story that I believe is better than c'est so magnifique.
I tell you what though, folks, that's bloody nice. That is really... That is bloody lovely.
Hey! What? You gonna rob me? Is that it?
However, let me get this out of the way. This game isn't perfect.
You're f***ing gay! As in homosexual!
The more you progress through the game, the more it shows its flaws with repetitive gameplay and mission design, as you're burnt out on what the game has to offer before the end credits even roll. With even the writers themselves completely wasting time with tangents, unnecessary missions, and monotonous shootouts.
Are you sucking? Don't swallow it. Well, suck it, Dad.
Now, I know what you're thinking.
Man, I thought you said this game was good.
Alright, I hear you, I'm hearing you, but counter-argument, I know where you live. Red Dead Redemption 2 is the rare case where the pros outweigh the negatives so much that the negatives might as well not even be there. Despite its repetition, it is still fun to shoot people in the face. And despite its tangents, it is still fascinating to watch these characters spit lines back and forth, and watching how each of them engages with each other. Guama still sucks though.
Come on, take a shot. Come on, take your best shot, please.
The acting is fantastic. Rockstar just got some random hobos you've never heard of to do the acting, and each delivery of a line and each expression of an emotion is delivered flawlessly.
Today is Velociraptor Awareness Day, and while I don't know much about velociraptors, I would say that if they do exist today, there's a good chance that they could kill you.
I believe the world you explore, although somewhat barren, is the best part of the game. It feels alive with the correct blend of style and realism that holds an abysmal number of details. This game so desperately wants you to slow down, which for most players coming off the back of something like GTA, which has got you moving like Roadrunner on meth, that's a very hard thing to do. And that's why a lot of people gave up on the game before the first chapter even finishes. Because the game wants you to follow its slow pacing and take in what's been made, as you gradually move through its world and indulge in its minutiae, it draws the player further into this grand plan of immersion.
You need to brew that coffee before you drink it, bitch!
You know, Arthur was just walking around on a beach, and I turned around and I looked at Arthur's footsteps, and his footprints were in the sand, and I thought, wow, that's pretty impressive. But then it started to rain, and then I saw the footprints fill up with water, and I was like, wow, that's impressive. And then I saw the water splash with the raindrops that were coming down. You know, there was still the rain that was still falling down was creating little splashes in the now flooded footprints. And then that's when my mind started to get blown.
But the soundtrack. Every time I hear a bit of music in this game, I want to die, because I know I'm not going to experience anything better in my life. Miss Sadie Adler Widow reflects Sadie's story from innocence to brutality. Fleeting Joy reflects small remnants of heroism in a sad, desperate time. And The Wheel reflects how the player has come full circle.
I broke the goddamn wheel.
Mozart has been real quiet since the soundtrack came out, and if you don't think this is the best soundtrack ever made, I will find where you live and I will burn your house down. But again, it's the writing of the story that is so effortlessly swayed with foreshadowing, character motive, and detail that makes this game. You go into it thinking,
Hell yeah, cowboy time!
And leave it with clinical depression.
Oh, let's go! That's class!
That's the way it is.
At first glance, the story is very simple, but actually holds a ton of hidden development, in lines of dialogue or moments of action that fall under the player to interpret, and they all just whiz by your head on your first playthrough. The thing that makes this game so complex is how each character is developed. They all have aspirations and flaws to overcome or devolve into, as each of them influences each other for better or for worse, and all this affects every minor or major bit of dialogue or events in the game. And this is why 2 playthroughs of the story isn't only advisable, but required to fully understand its depth. Here are only a few of those missable details. Lenny is an underrated tragedy, as he is always trying to prove his abilities to both the gang and himself, and on multiple occasions he does, but the only one who seems to notice is Arthur. This makes it all the more heartbreaking, as this is what causes his demise. He goes first and is punished for it, and Arthur is the only one who really cares. Good, Lenny was a little bitch. Dutch is a character of ambiguity. Did Dutch change, or was he found out for who he really was? But there are many factors at play to answer this question. The gang's downfall starts from the very beginning, as you are left in the dark of what has happened at this Blackwater massacre. And there are many lines of dialogue that is said that makes you raise your eyebrows on your second playthrough.
Dutch killed a girl in a bad way.
I doubt that. Nope, you're just doubting me.
Suddenly we're about to rob a train.
What choice have we got?
But there is also the idea of Hosea's death. It can be viewed as the symbol of the angel and the devil on his shoulders, and when that angel is gone, there is only the devil, and despite how much Arthur tries to fill that role, the damage has already been done. And there was the time Dutch got a little noggin on his head, and he may have suffered from brain injury.
I hope I didn't brain my damage.
And right after that, this is what Dutch says to Arthur.
Have some goddamn faith! I am bending over backwards to make a future for us!
I know, but...
When did you become so small-minded? I feel like I'm going in circles with all of you. Micah is the only one left with any loyalty.
Now, that ain't fair.
You are talking like John. I swear that woman is poisoning him against me. I've seen it before.
And fun fact, did you know that Micah, who is the main antagonist and a piece of crap, is actually Satan? He hisses when he speaks, he claims he'll be right at home when he goes to hell, he influences people for the worst, he tortures the innocent, and he uses quotes from the Bible to preach blasphemy.
And maybe there is damnation, but I think I know what that'll be like. And I'm gonna be right at home there. That's it. See it for what the hell it is.
Well, I just want to say that I'm a huge fan.
Hosea sees the writing on the wall from the very beginning. Was Micah the rat or was it really John? Karen was violently punished for just being alive. And Javier's loyalty to the gang is his best strength, but becomes his greatest weakness. This is what I am talking about. I know I sound like a broken record, but there is depth like this that applies to literally every character in the game and the world, and in turn adds an immense enrichment and immersion into its replayability. With simple conversations between two characters holding so much depth.
Pretty countryside, ain't it?
I guess.
You'll see it better when you get older. It's tough at your age. Just land and light. But to me, it's life. I can't explain it.
But I've been beating around the bush for ages now. Let's talk about Arthur Morgan. A lot of people went into this game going, Joe Marston's origin story, here we go. Arthur Morgan.
Man, what the fuck? Man, I don't want to talk your bitch.
And then...
Hold him up.
Arthur is the character that makes Red Dead Redemption 2 what it is. And if I were to go into full detail about him, we'd be here for 3 million hours. The intricate attributes revolving around who he is and who he wants to be makes him feel like a real person, which is carried further by the Oscar-worthy performance done by Roger Clark. When we first get introduced to Arthur, we learn that he is the tough working man of the gang. And his journal fleshes him out even further, and is more than necessary to understanding his character, as he goes into detail of his thoughts on certain situations, and the player learns of his inner magnanimity and artistry that grows in him. This, his interactions with everyone in and outside of camp, and even how he uses his words, and many other details that anyone could easily miss, doesn't just bring colour and detail to Arthur, but also relatability. Not to mention his cynical sarcasm.
This seemed like a good time for sarcasm to you, Arthur.
You might be the first bastard to ever have half his brains eaten by a wolf and end up more intelligent. Does this trolley go to Tahiti? You're my favorite parasite. No, ringworm's my favorite parasite. You're my second favorite parasite.
Very funny.
I lied. Ringworm, then rats with the plague, then you.
Do something, please.
Do what? Fight this mob?
We must begin.
They'd eat me alive.
You mind helping me with the skinning, Mr. Morgan? It's easier if we do it together.
Do I get to skin you?
You're always one with the jokes, aren't you?
He holds a persona of a man who wants to play the stoic tough guy, and inadvertently holds back any sensitive emotions, but only lets them show when he offers to help certain strangers, even if he isn't getting paid. Like Hamish or Charles, Albert Mason, and the soldier who's hunted down for getting a Native American pregnant. Arthur is a man of involuntary generosity and heart, and to put it plainly, Arthur is a good man, depending on the choices you make. He is either the conflicted villain or the imperfect hero, But the latter option fits better with the story and theme of redemption and is more true to the character Rockstar was creating. He is a man that believes he doesn't deserve an ounce of redemption despite the sheer abundance of good he can create.
Damn the dad. Just get her somewhere safe.
Thank you, fella. You know, there ain't enough kindness in this world, that's for sure. But you...
I don't know nothing about kindness.
But why is that? Well, it's most likely because he's murdered over 1,000 people. And that's where his illness comes in. At the final chapter of the game, we learn that Arthur has contracted tuberculosis and his death is inevitable. And everything that follows from that point on holds a message. One that stands tall and proud but still remains unclear. And that's what it means to be a man. Arthur's world is crashing around him, as his weakness takes a hold of him even more, and he starts to lose faith in the world. That is, until he is met with the nun.
I'm dying, sister.
Okay?
Yeah, I got TB. I got it. Beating a man to death for a few bucks. I've lived a bad life, sister.
We all sin. But I know you.
You don't know me.
Forgive me, but that's the problem. You don't know you. Whenever we happen to meet, you're always helping people and smiling. Life is full of pain. But there is also love and beauty.
What am I gonna do now?
Be grateful that for the first time, you see your life clearly.
But I still don't believe in nothing.
Often, neither do I.
Huh?
But then I meet someone like you, and everything makes sense.
I guess I'm afraid.
There is nothing to be afraid of, Mr. Morgan. Take a gamble that love exists and do a loving act.
All aboard! I shall try.
I know you will.
Get the hell out of here and be a goddamn man. I tried. In the end, I did.
Maybe it's a sign, Arthur. Try to do the good thing.
No matter what happens to Arthur, and no matter how weak he becomes, he still remains strong and never gives up fighting. Reflected through the song Unshaken. May I stand unshaken amidst a crash of worlds. And even the lyrics to the music that plays in Arthur's final ride tells us that bad things happen all the time but for a reason, and that's to learn from them and to be stronger and to shine light into darkness. The song is basically saying,
It is what it is. It is what it is.
Arthur is no exception to these principles of strength and morals. He knows his time is up, but he doesn't know if everything will work out. But he never backs down because it's the right thing to do. And that's what it means to be a man. To grow strong, to never stop fighting, to never give in to the pressures of life, and to be a reason people believe good exists in the world.
May I stand unshaken amidst of crash of worlds.
But this is what makes Red Dead Redemption an unsung tragedy. Because of the detail that's been given into the writing and the characters, the player finds himself embracing the story for the first Red Dead Redemption in a newfound light, with many passable bits of dialogue having a brand new meaning.
I got a plan.
This is a good one.
Can't fight change. Can't fight gravity.
As it turns out, it's you or me. The way I see it, might as well be
him.
We all have a code. Only some of us don't realize it. If you ask me, It usually takes more strength to stay than to run, Miss McFarland.
There is a cycle that follows both John and Arthur, of a past that refuses to stop following them, as they are forced into working for disagreeable men with broken morals, for the sake of their family, so that they can live out their lives in peace, until their actions finally catch up to them. Red Dead Redemption isn't just a cool title. Both of these men receive their redemption through a red, bloody death, sacrificing themselves for who they love. This cycle they find themselves in never ends, as each time a character has been given the gift of a normal life, they throw it away for the selfish act of revenge, drawing unwanted attention to themselves. And thus, the cycle begins anew.
Flashing lights.